B'siyata d'shmaya, we're going to learn Shabbos Daf Tesvov. We're going to start on the second line of the Omid. Says the Gemara, Gufa, Omar Rav Yehuda Omar Shmuel. We saw on Daf Yud Daled Omid base that Rav Yehuda said in the name of Shmuel that Yud Ches Gozru, there were 18 things that the Chachomim made a Gezerah, Ubi Yud Ches Nechluku, and there were 18 topics and discussions that Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel were arguing with each other. Asks the Gemara Vatanya Hushvu, did we not learn that the 18 things that Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel agreed upon? How can you, Shmuel, say that they were arguing? Says the Gemara, Boi bayoim nechluku. On that day that we've discussed till now, where the Chachomim went up to the attic of Hananya ben Chizkiah ben Goroin, on that day they argued. Ulemochor, and the following day, Hushvu, they all agreed, Beis Hillel agreed to Beis Shammai, and they made the Gezeirus according to Beis Shammai. Continues the Gemara, Gufa, Omar Rav Huna. We saw on the Gemara in Daf Yudalad Omid Beis that Rav Huna said, Begimel Mekoymos Nechluku Shammai veHillel. Even though Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, the yeshivas of Shammai and Hillel, the Talmidim of Shammai and Hillel, they had many arguments and discussions, as we know through Shas. But Shammai and Hillel themselves only argued in 3 places. And now the Gemara is going to tell us what the 3 are. The first one is as follows. We know that min haTorah, when a person makes a dough with flour, he's got a chiyuv to take chalot, to take away part of the dough and give it to the kohen. It has similar halachas to truma. The question is, how big does the dough have to be in order to be mechuyev in challah? Says the Gemara, Shammai oimer mikav challah. Shammai says if the dough was made with a kav, which is a measurement of flour of a kav, it's chayev in challah. V'hillel oimrim mikabayim. Hillel say that you need a measurement of 2 kav in order to be chayev in challah. V'chachomim oimrim. The chachomim say loy kedivrei zeh v'loy kedivrei zeh. Not like Beis Shammai and not like Beis Hillel. Elo kav umechza. 1.5 kav of flour. If the dough is that big, it's chayev b'challah. 1.5 kav is 6 loigim. A measurement of loig, 6 lug. There's 4 loig in a kav. 1.5 kav is 6 loig. Umeshehigdilu amidois. In Tzipuri, at some point in time, they changed the units and the measurements that they were using. And Omru, at that point, they said chameshes revoim kemach, that 5 revoim, 5 loig of kemach corresponds to what was 6 loig of kemach, which is a kav umechza, and from the new measurements, 5 loig is what is chayovim b'chala. Rabbi Yosi Omer, chamisha pturin, chamisha v'oid chayovin. Rabbi Yosi says that I agree with you that 5 loig is the measurement, but not exactly. You have to add on a little bit more than 5 loig, and the reasoning behind all these opinions are to do with the halachas and the sugyas of challah, which we do not need to go into here. V'idoch, says the Gemara, where's another place that Shammai and Hillel argue? You said there were 3. One of them they argued with how much dough you need to be chayiv in challah. What's the second one? Hillel oimer meloi hin mayim she'uvim poislin es hamikvah. We know that for a mikvah to be kosher, it needs to have 40 sa'ah of rainwater that have not gone through any kelim, through any vessels. After a mikvah has 40 sa'ah of mayim megashamim, then even if you can add in as much water as you want from mayim she'uvim, those that have been through vessels, the mikvah stays kosher. If, however, the mikvah is not yet full, and you pour tap water or water that's been through a vessel into the mikvah now becomes posel, and you can add as much rainwater as you want, and the mikvah will stay posel. The question is, how much mayim she'uvim has to be put into a mikvah of rainwater that's not yet full in order to render the entire mikvah posel? And that was a machlokas Shammai and Hillel. Hillel oimer meloi hin mayim she'uvim poislin es hamikvah. If you have a hin, which is a measurement of water that's been through a vessel, you put into a mikvah, it passes the whole mikvah. How much is a hin? Rashi says a hin is 12 loig, and that it comes out to 3 kavin of water. The question is, why did Hillel use the term hin? Why didn't he use one of the biblical measurements? Says the Gemara, Shechayev Odom Loimer Bilshein Rabbi, because a person must say over when he's saying Torah exactly in the way he heard it from his Rebbe. His Rebbe was Shemaiah v'Avtalyon, and Shemaiah v'Avtalyon, for different reasons, used the term hin, and that's why Abaye used that term. Shammai argue with Hillel and say that you don't need a hin of water to passel the mikvah. Tisha kabin, you need 9 kav, which is 36 loig, before a mikvah becomes passel. The Chachomim say loike divrei zeh v'loike divrei zeh, not like Shammai, not like Hillel. Ad shebo shtei gardiim mishar ha'ashba, when 2 weavers came from the dung gates in Yerushalayim, v'hi'idu, and they testified mishum Shemaiah v'Avtalyon, in the name of Shemaiah v'Avtalyon, differently to what Hillel said in the name of his Rebbe, which is a hin. They said in the name of Shemaiah v'Avtalyon, sheshloisha lugin mayim she'uvim poislim es hamikvah. 3 loig of tap water, of water that's been to a vessel, is enough to render the entire mikvah that has not yet been filled with 40 sah to be completely possible. The Kimu Chachomim es Devreim, and the Chachomim accepted the testimony of these 2 weavers, and that was the halacha. And Rashi says you could be a very, very simple person and have a very simple job of being a weaver. You could live in a very simple neighborhood like the dung gates of Yerushalayim, and lo yimna adam atzmu beis hamedrash, that's not a reason not to come to the Beis Hamedrash. Come to the Beis Hamedrash, learn Torah, as we see in this Gemara that these 2 simple workers living in a very simple place, they came to the Beis Hamedrash, and the end of the day it was what they said which carried weight, stronger than Shammai, stronger than Hillel, and the halacha was according to what they said. Continues the Gemara, v'idoch, what's the 3rd place that Shammai and Hillel argued? And the halacha is as follows. We know that as soon as blood leaves the womb of a woman, even before it's left her body, she's tmeah. Now when a woman does a badika, when she checks whether she's tomei or not, then sometimes she'll find dam whilst she's checking. Sometimes the dam will come out and she'll only see it then. The question is, if she checks that whether she's a niddah, and she sees dam, do we have to assume that this dam may have been there from a previous badika? She may have done a badika 3 days earlier, and it was completely clean. She was tahir. Now 3 days later she does a badika, and she sees dam. Do we assume, or do we have to worry and take precaution that possibly when did the dam leave the rechem, leave the womb? Immediately after she did the previous badika, and the ramification of that will be that all the tairis, all the things that were toher that she touched from then, maybe it's a suffix whether they are tomei. A niddah is tomei if she touches tairis. So the question is, when a woman sees blood, from what point backwards do we assume maybe the dam already left the womb? Says the Gemara, Shammai omer kol anoshim dayon shaiton. Shammai says we don't assume bichlal at all that she was tomei before. You found the dam now, then from this point on she is tomei. A minute earlier she's toher. Hillel omer, the Hillel say that it's mipkida lepkida. We have to assume that immediately after she did the previous check, the previous badika, at that point the dam left the rechem, and from that point all the tyrus that she touched are sofik tomei. Even if she did that badika many days earlier. Not like Shammai and not like Hillel. Elo mi'es le'es memayit al yedei mipkida lepkida, or mipkida lepkida memayit al yedei me'es le'es. The Chachomim say the halach is as follows: the shorter of the 2, either 24 hours or a previous clean badika, the shorter of the 2, that's as much as a woman has to be choishesh, maybe she became tomei. So if she did the badika 12 hours earlier and it was clean, she has to be choishesh for 12 hours. If she did a badika 36 hours back, she only has to be choishesh on 24 hours. Continues the Gemara. V'su leka? Are there no more places that Shammai and Hillel argued? We saw in the Gemara that Rav Huna said that Shammai and Hillel only argued in 3 places. How about the following? V'ha'ika, Hillel oimer lismoich, v'Shammai oimer sheloi lismoich. There's a machlekes in the Gemara, in Chagiga Daf Tes Zayin, in the Mishnah, whether if a person brings a korban on Yontiv, and we know when a person brings a korban he has to lean on the animal, it's called smicha, but we know that there's an issa, it's forbidden to lean on an animal on Yontiv. The question is, if one's bringing a korban, is one allowed to lean on the animal as part of the procedure of bringing a korban or not? Hillel say, lismoich, you're allowed to. Shammai say, shaloi lismoich, you're not allowed to. So you see there's another machlekes, Shammai and Hillel. Says the Gemara, Ki ka'amar Rav Huna, when did Rav Huna say that there's only 3 arguments? Heicha deleka plukta derabvasa ba'adayu. That's only if there were no previous chachomim that argued. But if Shammai and Hillel were just echoing a previous argument of previous chachomim, that's not a new argument attributed to Shammai and Hillel, and therefore it's not counted. And what's interesting is that this machlekes, Shammai and Hillel, is actually the very first machlekes in Torah Sheba'al Peh. And the Chachomim, there was always the base, the Av Beis Din and the Nossi, and they were arguing already 4 generations before Shammai and Hillel. They were already arguing regarding this halacha of smicha on a korban on Yontiv. And this, until Shammai and Hillel, that was the only machlekes. Later on, Shammai and Hillel themselves argued in another 3 machlekes, and afterwards with the Talmidim of Shammai and Hillel, that's where machlekes became very rampant. Asks the Gemara, V'ha'ika, I've got another place where there's an argument between Shammai and Hillel. Haboitzer legas, if somebody is harvesting his grapes to take it into the wine press, Shammai omer huchsher. Shammai says that from the time that he harvested it, then the wine drops that come out of the grapes and they all become wet is called muchsher lekabel tuma. We've seen in a previous sugya that fruits can only become tomei if before they became tomei, some liquid went on them. Shammai say that this liquid that comes out of the grapes after harvesting is called hechsher, and the fruits can then become tomei. Hillel say that the few drops of wine that get squeezed out of the grapes are not called a hechsher lekabel tuma. So you see that there's another machlekes, Shammai and Hillel. Why do you Rav Huna say there were only 3? Says the Gemara, bar minei dahahi, exclude this argument. Dahasam koshosik leHillel leShammai. Immediately after they argued, Hillel agreed to Shammai that these grapes are muchsher lekabel tuma, and since the argument did not last for very long, therefore it's not considered an argument between Shammai and Hillel. Continues the Gemara. We saw on Daf Yudaled Amud Beis a brisa. Yosi ben Yezer ish Tzereida. Yosi ben Yezer, a leader in Tzereida, and Yosi ben Yochanan ish Yerushalayim, a leader in Yerushalayim. Gozru, they made 2 gezeros. Tuma al eretz amim, that chutz la'oretz. We'll soon see the earth of chutz la'oretz, the airspace of chutz la'oretz is considered tuma, and also val klei zchuchis. They also were geyser that glass, even though min haTorah, glass is not one of the kelim that are mentioned that can become tomei, the Chachomim said that midrabanon, or Yosi ben Yezer, Yosi ben Yochanan said that even glass vessels can become tomei. Asks the Gemara, V'harabonon d'shmoinim shana gozur. Are you suggesting that Tumas Eretz Amim and Tumas Kleis Chuchis, it was Yosi ben Yezer ish Tzereida and Yosi ben Yochanan ish Yerushalayim that made those gzeros? It wasn't. It was the Chachomim of 80 years. 80 years before the Churban Beis HaMikdash, there were the Chachomim, and they made this gezerah. The Omer of Kahana, Rav Kahana said as follows: K'shechol Rabbi Shmuel bar Rabbi Yosi, when Rabbi Shmuel bar Rabbi Yosi became sick, Sholchu Loi, the Chachomim sent him as follows: Rebbe, Emer lonu beis v'gimel dvarim she'omarta lonu mishum avicha. Tell us 2 or 3 things that you heard from your father Rabbi Yosi. Shalach lohem. Rabbi Shmuel bar Rabbi Yosi sent them as follows: Kach Oma Abba, this is what my father Rabbi Yosi told me. Kuf Pei Shono Ad Sheleichorav Habayis, 180 years before the Churban Beis Hamikdash, Poshta Malchus Horisha al Yisrael, the Roman Empire started taking control over Klal Yisrael. Shmoinim Shono Ad Sheleichorav Habayis, 80 years before the Churban Beis Hamikdash, Gozru Tum al Eretz Amim, the Chachomim of 80 years before the Churban Beis Hamikdash, they were Goizer Tuma on Eretz Amim, Va'al Kleis Chuchis, and on glass. Arboim Shono Ad Sheleichorav Habayis, 40 years before the Churban Beis Hamikdash, Gold Solo Sanhedrin, V'yoshvelo B'chanuyois. The Sanhedrin that used to sit in one of the chambers in the Beis Hamikdash called the Lishkas Hagozis, they left the Lishkas Hagozis to sit in a place called Chanuyois in Yerushalayim. Lemay Hilchasa. What's the ramification of the fact that the Sanhedrin moved from the Lishkas Hagozis out into Yerushalayim? The Sanhedrin were only allowed to judge fines, knosos, in the Lishkas Hagozis. When they moved out, they could no longer be done on knosos. Asks the Gemara, Dine knosos al kadaitach? Is there any reason to believe that in order to be able to judge knosos, you have to be in the Lishkas Hagozis? It's not Dine Knosis. That you can do even outside the Lishkas Hagozis. Dine Nefoshes, deciding whether a person has to be killed or not, that could only be done in the Lishkas Hagozis. So the question of the Gemara is, how can you say that Yosi ben Ye'ezer ish Tzereida and Yosi ben Yechanan ish Yerushalayim, they made these two gezeros? They lived many, many years earlier than 80 years before the Churban Beis Hamikdash. And the Gemara is now going to prove that. V'chitema, are you going to suggest b'shmoinim shana nami inhu hava? Maybe Yosi ben Ye'ezer and Yosi ben Yechanan, maybe they were part of the Chachomim who lived 80 years before the Churban Beis Hamikdash, and then it's not a contradiction. Says the Gemara, that can't be. V'hatanya, Hillel Azokin, v'Shimoin and his son Shimon, Gamliel, Reb Gamliel Azokin, the son of Shimon ben Hillel Azokin, v'Shimoin and Reb Shimon ben Gamliel, Noagu Nesi'oson, they were Nesiim Lifnei Abayis Me'er Shono. They were 100 years before the Churban Beis Hamikdash, they were Nesiim. Hillel was 100 years before, and those after him, they were the Nesiim after, in the last 100 years before the Churban Beis Hamikdash. V'ilu Yosi ben Ye'ezer ish Tzereida, Yosi ben Yechanan have kodmi tuva. They were 4 generations before Hillel. If you look in the Mesechus Avos, at the beginning, you'll see that Yosi ben Yechanan and Yosi ben Ye'ezer were 4 generations before Hillel. Elo Osu inhu gozur agusha. It has to be that the Gzeira on Tumas Eretz Amim, and Tosfos discusses how we deal with the problem with the Schuchis, with the glass, but the Gemara is going to focus mainly on the Tumas Eretz Amim. So Yosi ben Yechanan and Yosi ben Ye'ezer, they were Gozur Agusha. They just said that the lumps of earth from Chutz La'aretz, because we don't know if it's a Beis HaKvaros, if there's dead people buried there, and if even a goy that's buried there, if one touches or moves the remains of a body of a goy, it can bring tomei. It's a big suffix, and therefore they said lumps of earth in Chutz La'aretz are tomei. Lisrif, which means that if a lump of earth of Chutz La'aretz touches truma, then we assume, even though it's a suffix, we don't know on a biblical level whether it's tomei, but the Chachomim said it's tomei, and you can burn the truma. Not like Sofik of truma, where we know that you can't eat it because it might be tomei. You cannot burn it because you're not allowed to burn truma unless you're 100% sure that it's tomei. So it's called toilin. It's not eating and not burning. You just have to leave it. Ve'avira v'loi klum. But the two, the Yosi ben Yochanan and Yosi ben Ye'ezer, they did not make any takona on the airspace of Chutz La'aretz, only on the lumps of earth. And then the Chachomim of 80 years before the Churban Beis Hamikdash, Gozur Avira Litlois. They made the Gezerah that if even just the airspace of Chutz La'aretz, of Tumas Amim, has some level of Tumah, but not as extreme as the lumps of earth. The lumps of earth cause enough Tumah that you can burn Truma, but if Truma goes into the airspace of Chutz La'aretz, it's only Tomei enough that you're not allowed to eat it, but you're also not allowed to burn it. Says the Gemara, Lememra dechod gzeira sahava lisreifa. Are you suggesting that on the lumps of earth, the same time that Yosi ben Yochanan and Yosi ben Ye'ezer made it a gzeira, that they are tomei, they also said that the tomei is stringent enough that you can burn the truma, like we see inhu gozor agusha lisreif. V'ha'oma ilfa, we saw previously in the name of Ilfa, Yodayim, only the takona of Netilas Yodayim, Tchilas Gzeiroson Lesreifa, from the beginning of the Gzeira they said that if you do not wash Netilas Yodayim and you touch Truma, then you have to burn the Truma. Only Yodayim hu de Tchilas Gzeiroson Lesreifa, only regarding Tumas Yodayim, the initial Gzeira was that you can burn Truma. Ha midi achrina, but other things, for example, the lumps of earth from Chutz La'aretz, loy. Over there, the Gzeira went in stages. First, it was only Tomei that Toilin, you're not allowed to eat it, and only later they made the Gzeira, you're even allowed to burn it. Elo says the Gemara, Osu inhu Yosi ben Yochanan and Yosi ben Ye'ezer gozor agusha litlois. They were geyser, they decreed that the lumps of earth from Chutz La'aretz have the halachas of sofik tuma litlois. You're not allowed to eat the truma if the truma touches the lumps, but you're not allowed to burn it. Va'avira, but the airspace of Chutz La'aretz, v'loy klum, they didn't make any gzeira, it's tahir. Va'osu rabbanon d'shmoinim shana, and the chachomim later on, 4 generations later, those that were there 80 years before the Churban Beis Hamikdash, gozur agusha, they added onto the gzeira of the lumps of earth, saying not only are you not allowed to eat it, lisreif, you're even allowed to burn it. Va'avira litlois, and they started the gzeira of the airspace of Chutz La'aretz that if truma goes into it, you're not allowed to eat it, but you're not allowed to burn it. Asks the Gemara, I don't understand. Va'akati be'usher gozur. You're saying that between Yosi ben Yochanan, Yosi ben Ye'ezer, and the Chachomim of Shmoinim Shana before the Churban Beis Hamikdash, that's when the gzeira of Tumas Eretz Amim and Zchuchis and glass, that's when it was instated. But it's not true. We are going to see in the Mishnah that these gezeiras were only started in Usha, which is a few years after the Churban Beis Hamikdash. Ditnan we saw in the Mishnah, Al Shisha Sveikois Soirfines Hatruma. There are 6 scenarios where the scenario in and of its own right have the status of Sophic, and nonetheless, if Truma touches them, not only are you not allowed to eat the Truma, you're allowed to burn the Truma. What are the 6? Al Sofik Beis HaPras. Beis HaPras is a field that had a grave in it, and the field got ploughed up, and now you don't know if there are remains of bones around in the field, and you went through it, or some truma went through it, and now we don't know, did the truma become tomei from the Beis HaPras? V'al Sofik Ofor Abor Me'eretz Amim, or if truma touched the lumps of earth from Chutz La'aretz, and that's also just a sofik because we don't know whether this particular lump of earth is tomei or not. Val sofik bigdei amoretz, or if truma touches the clothes of an amoretz and we don't know whether his clothes are tohir or tomei. Val sofik kelim hanimtzoim, if truma touches vessels, kelim that you find, and you don't know if these kelim are tohir or tomei. Val sofik haroikin, if truma touches some spit and you don't know, is it spit of a zov which is severely tomei, or is it spit of a tohir person which is tohir? Val sofik mei ragle odom, or if you have a sofik, if you see some urine and you don't know, is it the urine of an animal which is tohir, or is it the urine of a person, and then it might be tohir but it might be tomei, the person might be tomei. If he's a zov, then the urine of a zov is severely tomei. Shekeneged mei ragle behema, even if just in close proximity of the urine that you're worrying about, that the truma touched, there's other urine which it's clear to you that it's from an animal. So here, number 1, it's close to urine which is definitely from an animal. Number 2, it could be this urine is from an animal. Number 3, it could be that even if it's from a person, it's from a tohir person. Nonetheless, it's one of these 6 fakers that sofen is a truma. If truma touches it, you can burn the truma. Al vaday magon, V'al sofik tum'oson, if truma touched in a definite way, we know that truma touched one of these 6 things, even though each of these 6 things are only a sofik of truma, is a sofik of truma, nonetheless, sorfines a truma. You can burn the truma. Rabbi Yossi Omer, af al sofik magon. Not only these 6 are a sofik, but if you have an added sofik that you're not even sure did the truma touch one of these 6 things, even then the halacha is as follows: that b'reshus hayochid sorfin. We know that any sofik of tuma in a reshus hayochid, it's learnt out from Saita that it's l'chumra, it's tomei. And therefore here too, if any of these 6 things are in reshus hayochid, then the sofik whether it touched them, we decide is l'chumra, is tuma. And since these 6 things, the halacha is that sorfin is a truma, you burn the truma. The Chachamim argue and say, b'reshus hayochid toilin. In a regular sofik, in a reshus hayochid, you can be machmir, because there's only one sofik. Here it's a double sofik. You're talking about a sofik whether it touched, and number 2, even if it did touch, maybe it's not even tomei. For example, lumps of tumas eretz amim, or earth of a beis hapras. It could be it didn't touch the beis hapras. If it did touch the beis hapras, maybe there was no bones remnants here. Since it's a double sofik, you cannot burn it, and it's toilin. That's how the Rambam explains this. B'reshus harabim tahirim. However, if you have this double sofik in reshus harabim, then it's completely tahir. V'oma ola. What did Ula say on this Mishnah with these 6 things? Al shishos sveikos sorfines hatruma. He said that elu shishos sveikos b'usha itkinu. They were geyser, they were masaken, they instituted these halachas in Usha, which was after the Churban Beis Hamikdash. And one of the things that are mentioned here is Ofar Abba Me'eretz Amim, is the lumps of earth from Chutz La'aretz. So how can you say that Yossi ben Ye'ezer and Yossi ben Yochanan started the Gezerah, and then the Chachamim of 80 years before the Churban Beis Hamikdash added to that Gezerah? It was Bichlal Gezerah of after the Churban Beis Hamikdash. Says the Gemara, Ela Osu Inhu Gozur Agusha Litlois va'avira v'loi klum. Yossi ben Yochanan and Yossi ben Ye'ezer, they made a gezerah that the lumps of earth are tolui. You're not allowed to eat it, but you're not allowed to burn it. Va'avira v'loi klum. And the airspace of Chutz La'aretz is toir. V'asu Rabbanon d'shmeinim shana, the Chachamim 4 generations later, 80 years before the Churban Beis Hamikdash, Gozur idi v'idi litlois. They just added on that the airspace in Chutz La'aretz has the same status as the lumps of earth in Chutz La'aretz, that both of them, you're not allowed to eat the truma that goes into it or touches it, but you're not allowed to yet burn it. V'asu b'usha, and after the Churban Beis Hamikdash in Usha, Gozur, they made the gezerah agusha lisroif. They said that the lumps of earth, if truma touches it, you can burn the truma. Va'avira kedekoi, they did not add anything to the gezerah of the airspace of Chutz La'aretz, and in the same way as the Chachamim 80 years before the Churban Beis Hamikdash said that in the airspace, if truma goes into it, you're not allowed to eat it, but you're not allowed to burn it. They kept that status quo. Continues the Gemara, Klei Zuchuchis. We saw that Yossi ben Yochanan and Yossi ben Ye'ezer, one of the things that the gezerus that they made is not only tumas eretz amim, but also on klei zuchuches. Even though in the Torah there's no mention of glass being a vessel that's able to become tomei, they said that even glass vessels, utensils, can become tomei, like with other kelim. However, not min ha-Torah, only midrabanon. Says the Gemara, my tam gozu bu rabbanon tuma. Why did the Chachamim find it necessary to make a gezerah that the zchuchis, that glass, unlike all the other kelim, any other kelim not mentioned in the Torah, are tohir? Why did you pick on glass and make a gezerah? Says the Gemara, Omer Rabbi Yochanan Omer Reish Lakish. And this is an important yisoid of Reish Lakish. Hoil utchilas bri'oson min hachil. How do you make glass? From sand. And sand is very similar to earthenware. V'shavinu rabbonon keklicheres. They compared, the Chachamim said there's similarities between glass and earthenware. In the same way as the Torah said that earthenware kelim can become tomei, so too the Chachamim said that glass kelim can become tomei. Says the Gemara, if you based your chumrah, your tumah of klei zchuchis, on the tum of klei cheres, the halachas should be similar. Is that the case? Elo me'ato, if so, lo yitahei lohen tahara b'mikvah. We know that all kelim, when they become tomei, there's one of two ways they can become toher. Either if they become unusable, called if it gets broken, damaged, and you can't use it in the way it's supposed to be used, or if you tovel it in a mikvah. Kli cheres, earthenware kelim, however, can only become toher if they get broken, shviroson zuhi taroson, but a mikvah does not metahir, does not purify an earthenware kli. So if you learn, if the chachomim are annexing glass to earthenware, we would assume that one cannot be metahir a glass kli in a mikvah. Alomotnan, why did we learn in the Mishnah contrary to that? Ve'elu chaytzitzin bekelim. We know that with the mikvah, if there's a chatzitza, if there's a separation between the vessel or person or anything that needs tvila and the water, then the tvila is invalid. So what type of sticky substance on the side of a kli will render the kli as having a separation between it and the water, and the tvila will be possible? Says the Mishnah, hazefes v'hamoyer, which are two types of very sticky substances. Bekli's chuches, when they are stuck on the surface of a glass kli, then if you tovel the glass kli, the tvila will not be valid. So you see here that if there's no chatzitza, that a glass kli can become toyer in a mikveh. Why? It should be similar to kli cheres, that mikveh does not purify it. Says the Gemara, hocha b'mayaskinon kigoyin shenikvu. It was a glass kli, and at some point it got broken. There were holes in it, and you could no longer use it in the normal sense. V'heitif l'toichon aver, and in order to repair the hole, somebody poured lead into the hole. Lead is a metal. Metal is one of the substances that kelim of metal can be purified in a mikveh. V'Reb Meir, and this Mishnah is following Reb Meir, the Omar, who holds hakoil hoilich achar hamaimid. If you have a vessel made of one substance, and there's another type of substance which is responsible for maintaining the vessel, and without it the vessel is invalid, then it has the halachic status of the substance that's maintaining it. The Tanya, as we saw in the Brisa, kli zchuchis, a glass kli, shenikvu, that had a hole in it, v'hitif l'toichon aver, and they poured lead in it. So now you've got the base of the kli is glass, but what's maintaining it, what makes it usable? The lead, which is metal. Omer Reb Shimon ben Gamliel, Reb Meir metami. Reb Meir says that it now has the status of a kli mateches, a metal kli, and it's tomei min ha'torah. The chachomim metarim, the chachomim say that this type of kli is toher min ha'torah, it's only tomei midrabanon. So according to Reb Meir, you see that a glass kli that is filled, the holes are filled with metal, it has the status of a metal kli. So the Mishnah that we mentioned before, that says that on a glass kli, zefes and moir are a chatzitza, it's talking about a glass kli that has the status of a metal kli. What type of kli is that? It had a hole and was fixed with metal. But if it's a purely glass kli that's no holes and is not fixed by metal, then that type of glass vessel will not be able to become toher in a mikveh. Similar to kli cheres. In Mirz Hashem, in the next shir, we'll carry on from here.